Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. To the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
9, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff.
Good day, everybody. Welcome to another Starbase Weekly live stream. My name is Zack Golden. Happy to be here with you all today. Got a lot to cover as always, and gonna be quite a bit to talk about since we've got a lot of new hardware rolling out this week. So I'm sure most of y'all will have questions about a lot of the interesting items that we saw throughout the week today. So gonna be interesting to go ahead and talk about those once we get to that point. We have Alex joining us today. Alex, thanks for being here with me.
Great being here today. Should be a good show. And yeah, there's a ridiculous number of test articles and other such things made an appearance to go over.
Yeah, it feels like things are ramping up on the V3 vehicle side, at least with one of the vehicles, not so much the other. But yeah, tons to talk about, and we're going to have Matt handling questions and donations for us. Matt, thanks for being here. Awesome. And it looks like there's already been some questions flying in before we even start the show. So we'll hopefully, I bet I probably will answer most of these questions without even looking at them. But we will go ahead and touch on them if I happen to skip those. So let's go ahead and get started. Ooh, wrong site. We're going to start at Massey's today, as always. And really interesting shot we have this week showing the long view. And as y'all can see, it's pretty colorful right now. And there's just like tons of growth in this river right now. And I was looking closely at it because at first from a long distance I thought this was algae, but I don't think it is. But pretty crazy that it's pretty much going up the whole river right now. I want to say it's closer to like water lilies, but I don't think that's what they are either. But it's super bright.
Water lily adjacent, but I'm not sure what it is. I thought it was algae last week as well.
Was it that bright last week?
In areas, but this week it's just crazy.
Yeah. I don't get how it even gets that thick.
Runoff,
interesting.
maybe?
Yeah, I was about to say there must be like a lot of like nitrogen or something in the water.
Definitely.
Coming
And
down the river.
phosphorus.
Like phosphorus, yeah. Weird that it never penetrates through this area though. And I've been like, I was thinking about this a few weeks ago. How does the water actually get in here? And I think it actually just like only when the high tide it comes over this, or it goes underneath it somehow. I don't even know. But I was thinking about that, and I spent like 20 minutes staring at this, trying to figure out where the water, how it even gets in here, since there's like a land bridge on both sides. Yeah, besides the point. Let's go ahead and start off with the static fire test stand, which we have been keeping a close eye on over the past few weeks, obviously, with the rework that's been going on over here. And it looks like things are getting closer and closer to being repaired. As far as the stuff that has to be like repaired instead of completely reconstructed, I would say the repairs are going pretty fast for the most part. One of the big things I was looking for earlier, and I haven't been able to find them, are the pipes that they were using, the spare pipes that they were using to fix the flame bucket, and all of those are gone. So I have a feeling that the actual flame bucket has finally been repaired. Making good progress on that. We weren't able to get pictures looking into the trench from the Mexican side this week. I guess the flight controllers were not allowing that to happen. So, FAA just out there doing their job. That's fine. Yeah, definitely making some good progress on this. I'm surprised we haven't seen too much with the actual test stand itself, though. They haven't really made any progress, like replacing the hold down clamps. So that's one of the biggest things we're waiting on for that. But as y'all can see, they did start the actual ship QD gantry, which we mentioned a few weeks ago. They were going to be upgrading the actual structure of it. I would say it's like more reinforced than it was in the past, but I don't know. What do you think, Alex? I feel like no matter what, if you have an event, an explosion like what happened with Ship 36, it doesn't really matter. Like it's not going to survive that.
Yeah, less is more in this instance. More room for everything to go through. And if the ship falls on it again, not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah. I mean, even putting shielding on this is not really going to help anything. So, I mean, if it was, I guess theoretically you could encase it in concrete. But I still don't know if that would be enough. And I don't think there's enough clearance on the side facing the. I don't think there's enough clearance to do that, anyways. It looks like it's pretty much touching the test stand, almost.
Might be an illusion, but it's pretty close.
Yeah. But there is another section for that right over, right next to on the driveway, basically. That's not the greatest angle of it. Yeah, so we can see the upper platform right here, which has the basically penetrations through here to allow all of the plumbing to come up to the top. So I forget, are we expecting, I've kind of been out of the loop on ship stuff, but will there be 2 QDs for the ship as well?
I think there's supposed to be 2 small ones, fairly close together, though.
Right, so this makes sense for probably locks on one side, methane on the other side.
Yeah, it's been there. And then ALSI. various high pressure gases.
Right. Yeah, so we should see that go up soon. They did all this in about a week, or probably about a day actually, which, I mean, assembling that is not exactly a hard task. So not surprising they got that done fairly quickly as far as just this first part of the structure. But yeah, making some progress with all of the GSE plumbing as well too, which is really good to see. Got some good angles looking into the bunker as well, and they're making some good progress with this. I don't think we can see the other side, but they do have the LOX manifold on the other side as well. So most of the big components are in here now, which I think with these being in here, they probably within the next, if I had to guess, week or so, may start forming out the roof of this. I guess that depends on how many more of these larger pipes they have to lower in here, because that is a lot easier to do, obviously, without a roof. But yeah, definitely making great progress with that. I really like just the way that they are doing this right now, because it's a good improvement on what they had previously. I mean, again, if you have another incident like we did with Ship 36, I think for the most part, this stuff will be probably okay, unless, the vehicle section falls over here or over here, then you still have that explosion coming in through the side. But for the most part, I think the biggest things that we'd worry about being damaged would be everything outside of the bunker. I feel like they may be able to do something to protect this, like put shielding over the top of this, which certainly is a possibility. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. But again, I'm not sure how much that would actually help, because the vehicle's pretty heavy, and that explosion was pretty big. So I'm not sure if covering this with anything other than reinforced concrete is actually going to help at all.
Yeah, and even with that, unless they seal it in, may do more harm than good, since it's a good chance it could trap in whatever's burning.
Yeah, for sure.
But there is another level to that pipe boy right next to it. In Sanchez right now. That.
Oh, like a rectangular one that goes on top of this?
Yeah. But I'm not. So they might.
Do you think that suggests they're going to cover it?
Yeah, because it looks like they have the propellant lines on the bottom, and the high pressure seems to be going above it. So I'm not sure which runs they would need a third level for, but
Right. Is it a short level?
yeah, it's just like the one that's on it.
Okay.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, so getting all this pipe work in here, we got all the LOX stuff coming out of this side, methane on this side, and all the high pressure coming through the middle right here, which is pretty neat. They definitely, like I said, have done a really good job of just improving the overall way that this system is designed. And we can also see, moving over to the actual methane farm area. Well, actually, sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit. I'm trying to find the actual trench. Yeah, so they've gotten most of the pipe work laid out in the trench, basically up to this point. And this is where the LOX and methane actually split up into two different directions. So the methane stuff goes pretty much all the way around the farm, and then it has to work its way back through instead of just going straight across, like I'm sure they would like to do. Go underneath this. But I guess that probably would have caused a little bit of a delay, having to get all the pipework in there first before doing this part right here. But yeah, definitely going to be a lot more protected with the trench covers on top of this. But in the wall protecting the actual methane farm, that's maybe going to be helpful. I still have my doubts on that. Definitely for the stuff that's closer to the ground, it'll probably be extremely helpful for. But during that explosion, things flew all the way over to here, so you never know. It's pretty easy for something to go over the wall and land in here. But either way, still a lot more protected than it was previously. Yeah, they're doing quite a bit on the actual methane farm. I was trying to get a better look at it, but I don't think we have any views on the maybe from the left side of it. Here we go. Cool. Yeah. Oh, there's a crane in the way. There we go. Of course.
Right.
Yeah, so they are making some good progress with the actual methane pumps. It looks like they have both pumps installed, and they're mainly working. All the heavy, the main equipment pieces are in here. They're basically just connecting everything now, it seems like. They've gotten the heat exchangers pretty much piped up, it looks like, and still just doing all the connecting pipe work in between the pumps and the heat exchangers. The actual reclamation system is still interesting over here, which I'm kind of confused about. I don't know if Alex, you have any idea about some of these new pieces that are going in here. Like I've seen one of these. Where is it? This weird thing right here. We've seen this before. I know they have them under the methane tanks at the new methane tanks at the orbital tank.
Do. I think it's just a phase separator to go to the flame stack, unfortunately.
Which is weird because aren't these phase separators?
One of them looks to be, but they might be using it like they're doing as sort of a surge tank on pad B.
Okay.
And oh, great! They're running pipes behind the wall because they have their little drill template right to the right of the pop up. There's that rusty.
What is this?
That's a template for drilling where to drill the anchor holes for the pipe way.
Oh, so they're basically going all the way down this?
That's what it's looking like, which is kind of even more confusing.
Yeah, because they have the pipes coming up here. I figured they were going to run along the back side of the wall, which makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, but they're also setting one up running on the other side as well. But that might just be where they're collecting the high pressure commodities and potentially nitrogen.
Okay. Yeah, one thing they did do over this last week is kind of a minor thing, but still interesting to note. They actually, I'm going to see if I can find a better angle of this. Always looking for the right angle. So the water tank that was over here, which was for basically the fire suppression system for all the high pressure gas distribution manifolds, has been moved over here. So it looks like basically the only part of this farm that truly has fire suppression, or I mean, I'm assuming that's why they moved it over here, because it's just for the methane farm. Previously, the fire suppression system would have been, I guess, in this middle area as far as what it was protecting. Basically, methane gas distribution is what it was mainly protecting, but I'm assuming they could potentially run it all the way over here. But yeah, they did at least move that tank out of the way. I imagine before they're done, a few more of these components, at least these high pressure gas cylinders, will probably get moved over there as well too, considering that I think these are so I was trying to think if they were actually using these for this tank. I think maybe just this one was used for this tank. I'm gonna have to refresh my own memory on that. But yeah, I imagine they may want to move these over here as well too, and then just leave nothing but the water farm over here. At least that's what it seems like they're doing to me.
If they brought those tanks in, I forget which flight. It's one of the ones that I think 7 or 8, and it never was clear what commodity they decided to add to the ship.
Right. Yeah, these are nitrogen cylinders. Kind could, and I think some of them were for valve actuation. So like all of these valves that you have in here, you need high pressure nitrogen running to those. And for most of the farm, the high pressure nitrogen comes from the actual nitrogen farm down here. But I think for the static fire stand, they had their own high pressure nitrogen system just for valve actuation. So this could also be part of that as well too. But yeah, lots of progress on that. I wish I could make these thumbnails bigger sometimes. But yeah, great progress. They also filled in dirt next to the actual trench itself. So I'm guessing they're pretty much finished up with all the groundwork they need to do on that, as well as all of the electrical as well too. And you can see that they've gotten done the roof on the electrical bunker over the transformers. I'm assuming we never saw them put the second transformer in there, but I'm guessing there's one on each side.
If not, just push it in with a telehandler like everything else.
Yeah. And I guess I'm going to stay on this same topic of this building right here, because one of the things that they've been doing is moving all of the electrical and control commodity. So basically, they had control bunkers for each part of the farm. For this one was for the blocks farm. There's another one right here for the nitrogen farm, and then one more down here for the cryo test stands. And then the one that got destroyed was for the static fire stand. And so they've basically been they're preparing to move all of that to one location, which I think had they developed this site all at the same time instead of piece by piece, they probably would have done that from the beginning. But they kind of did it the fast way using these little mobile bunkers that they were using. But now they're preparing to move all of that up to the front of the site, it looks like. And you can see me trying to find this thumbnail to actually show it down here. Here we go. So yeah, it seems like they're preparing to move all of it down to this building. They do have some underground. I don't think I can really see it in any of these. So it basically comes down here and just out of view, basically in the bottom corner over here. So they are moving all of it to this building, and they did have a bit of a setback. I'm sure if any of y'all were here on Wednesday for the last show, I'm sure they talked about that then. Basically had some issues with the concrete drop for this building. And this is, I think, the second time that's happened. Yeah.
Yeah. The triangle building at the launch site.
Right.
This one could have been weather related. It was raining and thunder, so they might have, because of lightning, had to put the boom down for a period of time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised that they didn't. I mean, it's good that they didn't have to redo all of this, but I'm almost surprised that they're willing to do it this way, because you're going to have so basically it seems like I don't know if they had to break out any concrete, but you have, partial wall here, and then somewhere in here is another partial wall. So basically one of the forms slipped, I'm guessing, or blew out at the bottom, and basically they had to stop the job at that point when that actually happened. So I think they must have done something to clean the face of the broken part out right here, just to, I don't know, how would you do that? Do you think they went straight down, or they just or do you think they left it?
I think they saw cut it straight down and probably redid the rebar mesh and just drilled in starter bars into the adjacent walls that got completed. And I would estimate that they finished the pour after it blew out, just from the cold joint and the wall to the right below those windows. Yeah, right there.
So it blew out, and then they trying to decide what to do, and then they finished this part?
Yeah, because they usually fill these in a number of lifts and then let it start setting, and then you just put on another lift, and they just go in a big circle around the perimeter, essentially.
Right. That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
some structural engineer put their wet stamp on it. So
I mean, it's luckily it's not like a load-bearing structure, so I'm sure it'll be fine. But they are already moving forward with the actual roof for this, so you can see all the shoring on the inside of it, and they're laying all the panels up here so that they can actually. I think they'll probably put rebar cages over the top of this, and then fill in that roof. So definitely a pretty well reinforced bunker, which is interesting considering how far away it is from the actual test stand, but better safe than sorry.
very much so.
Been interesting though, because with a lot of these bunkers, they'll do all the electrical stuff first underneath it, but they haven't done that with this, and it looks like it's like 1.5 levels. Do you have any idea? Do you think they would just like this conduit will come through? I don't see any like holes inside of this for all the electrical to go through there.
On the other side, if there's a view, they have rows of cutouts for conduits to come in.
Okay, coming through here.
Yeah, and along the other facing the tent, the GSC tent. So this is very reminiscent of the board cube at Sanchez, where they did the same thing. They had a half level that they put all the cable conduits came in, and then they filled it with gravel and then put the actual floors,
Right.
transformers in it, at least on the lower level.
I would say this is somewhat convenient that Ship 36 explosion happened in a lot of ways, because I don't know if they would have taken the time to do this without that. So they basically ran new conduit all the way around the perimeter right here, and then over to the pump station basically for the LOX farm, and then they continued it all the way down here, right here, and then across, basically for the static fire test stand area and the methane farm. So basically, they're having to redo all of the electrical and comm stuff. So we can actually see down on this side of the farm, they have all of this new conduit. Basically, actually, I'll start from where it actually comes up at. So I think this is where the junction box for the 2 test stands is, right here. And then they have more coming up underneath this, I think. And then all the way across to right here. And that goes underneath the tanks and then around to the nitrogen farm. And I think they've started to run some up to the LOX farm. So basically, everything that's connected in here. Did they already start disconnecting that stuff? It looks. This is underground, I think.
Yeah.
This one is actually through the middle of the building. So yeah, basically everything that's coming out of here, they'll have to just splice it into where it was coming out originally. And sorry, actually, no. So everything that was coming out of here, they'll basically have to run these to those same locations. So like I said, replacing these little bunkers. And again, I just don't think that's something they would have done without that situation. And having a centralized control bunker instead of having multiple different control bunkers is probably a lot more ideal. And in general, just getting these away from everything else is nice as well too. If they have another incident like that, at least they'll not lose power to the facility like they did this time. So yeah, definitely a good change in that regard. Let's see here. With the booster cryostation, not a ton to talk about here. I don't think they've done anything new this week. To me, it seems like they're mostly done with this.
Yeah, the last thing they did was on top of the hydraulic active cylinders on the stand. They put that adapter, but other than that, it looks fairly static.
Yeah, the only thing I don't like about this entire thing is this one pipe that comes across here. I was going to talk to you about that, Alex. I forgot to. I'm like, what is going on there?
I'm hoping it's just for commissioning, that they're just proofing the pipes, looping
Yeah.
everything together.
Yeah, that makes sense. For the other part that they're redoing is as I said, the LOX pumps. And I don't know if redoing is the correct way because it still can't tell if they're going to remove the other LOX pumps or if it's going to be like two-stage where it comes from the pumps over by the actual LOX tanks and over here, and then boost the pressure again. I'm not really sure what's going on there. It's a bit weird what the situation that they have going on with this.
Yeah, the pipes they put in over the week haven't helped clarify anything.
All of this.
Yeah, the supply pipe is definitely heading at the very top of the frame. The one that's veering to the left is...
Oh, this one.
Yeah. And where it's going, don't know.
Yeah, it's interesting because they already had the supply pipe right here, this one. So it's weird what they have going on with that. And then so far it's kind of like just stopped right here, and this one's actually a nitrogen tank. So really curious if they're, will they actually? When we see it from the other side, like this has always been a weird thing to me that they've never done a full cryo test of a booster, and even it seems like they've been filling these tanks over time, but I don't think they've ever actually used them. So I don't know if if they're separating these off from the other LOX tanks so that they, because like there's not really a reason to have this much LOX storage. It's kind of overkill in my opinion. I'm surprised that they didn't like switch these over to nitrogen tanks because this is more than enough for a booster. I think you need 2.5, maybe 3 of these for a full booster. So with this, you could basically do a booster and ship. But I guess and most of it's reclaimed as well too. So it's not like they're burning through a lot of liquid oxygen during those tests. So I think there's going to be some interesting things with the actual, like possibly changing one of these over or multiple of them over to a different commodity.
Yeah, they never. I don't think they really were hooked up in anger yet. So, and switching the end tank to nitrogen sort of supports the theories that they're plumbing a lot. Yeah. Because maybe they want to get rid of this mishmash of old tanks.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
yeah, definitely interesting. Hopefully next week we'll get some angles from the other side because I don't know. Some people may not be as interested in the GSE stuff, but to me, it explains a lot as far as like you can understand what they're doing with a lot of these tests just based off of what they analyze in the GSE. So I think this is one of the more interesting parts of the retrofit that they have going on out here because they've just been doing really weird stuff with testing over the last year and a half or so, especially with boosters. So I'm hoping that they get back to normal testing operations with boosters with doing a full cryo test instead of these partial tests that they've been doing.
Yeah, the partial tests are making me just think they're treating the tanks, not really testing much of it.
Yeah, which is weird because they still do the actual thrust simulator test with just the LOX tank filled, which I guess that kind of makes sense because you're basically just testing the LOX tank. But there's a reason they were doing full cryo tests before, so I'm sure they want to get back to that. Clearly it hasn't been an issue testing one tank at a time because they haven't really had any major issues with boosters that aren't more to do with either the engines or the actual structure itself, specifically with booster, was that 14 that blew up when it was coming in for landing. So yeah, I mean, I guess it hasn't been too big of a deal, but if they want to increase the cadence of testing and basically complete booster testing on, I'm guessing you could do it in a single day. I imagine, being able to do a full crowd test is important to them just for cadence purposes. But moving on, we do have a new test tank down here. I'm actually going to talk about this one first because we did have an interesting test this week. They actually, they've been testing this so much. I think they're just completed their 10th crowd test of 18.1. And for just a reminder, this one is the booster aft section, and then wait.
That's the aft.
Yeah, sorry, just the aft section. And they have the pistons, the actuators in here to test basically the downcomer structure. They've, like I said, done up to about 10 tests at this point. And with the most recent one, and this is actually really funny, I feel like every time I say stuff like this, I like cause bad luck or maybe, but I'm like, with 10 tests, so you guys might as well just blow it up already. Yeah, we're never sure if they're intentionally doing this stuff to failure, but in this case, but we can actually see that pretty late into the test, I think they were actually detanking at this time. But we can see that, and I'm only guessing that based off of the venting that's happening here. This is usually the double vent right here is, from what I've been able to tell, the indication of detanking. But you can see right there, there's a rupture on the side of the tank. What? Why did it? Okay. Yeah, so right in this area, you can see the rupture as soon as it happens. And that spewed out mostly gas. I know some people thought this was liquid, but with the way that it's going straight out like that, I'm pretty positive this is mostly gas. So I'm pretty sure they were fairly deep into detanking at this point. Probably at least maybe right at the point where it ruptured or just below it. But pretty decent cloud coming out of this for quite a while. All over the LR 11,000 over here. But interesting to see that happen, and not sure if that was intentional. Let's see if later, if we can still see where it's coming from. But yeah, you can just, like I said, right down in this area, and there was actually a hydraulic actuator down in that area. We don't really have an angle that shows it this week because it's basically right on this opposite side over here. But they have these diagonal pistons going in through sleeves up here, and then there was another one that went straight horizontally, and I'm thinking that's the one that's on that back side. And so it appears that's where it ruptured. We haven't really seen anybody. I think at one point we did see people up there inspecting it, but they haven't started removing any of this stuff yet. So I don't know if it's an issue that they can't just repair, or if that was an intentional thing that they did. I'm assuming probably not, given that if it ruptured through one of those sleeves, I'm guessing that's something that wasn't intended, because this is not like an actual feature of the vehicle. So yeah, if I had to guess, they're either going to repair it, or maybe they're done with testing now, because it's this has definitely received more testing than any other test article that we've ever seen, I'm pretty sure.
Well, adjusting my tinfoil hat, they did pop it right about the time they're rolling out 18th aft, so it's not like SpaceX to try and distract us.
Right.
Okay, I'll take off my tinfoil hat.
So the day after that test, they rolled out 18.3 on the OG can crusher right here. So they this is basically a booster forward section with a common dome right here, and this is a bit of a mystery because they have 6 actuators down here, And you know what? It's probably worth me pulling up some images of that just so we can see it really quick. So I'm gonna grab an image from, I think last week. We can still see it there. Was it at? They had already moved it to the ring yard, right? Last week.
I think 2 weeks ago should have.
Okay.
Definitely the last show you hosted had it.
Yeah. Just give me 1 second here. Scrolling through thumbnails, trying to find what I'm looking for. Alrighty. So yeah, we could see this down here. They had 6 actuators here, with 4 of them going straight up and 2 of them coming in diagonally. So yeah, this is really interesting because just it makes the purpose of this a little bit difficult to figure out. So the question we don't know is what they're actually testing with this, because they don't have the can crusher cap for this. Obviously, it's still over here. And even if they did, there's no actuators around the outside. So they're clearly not testing the forward section, which to me is very interesting. I do wonder if we'll actually see them perform whatever test they're doing on here and then switch this over to here so they can perform a test on the forward section, because in my opinion, that is arguably the most important test that they could do right now, just to make sure that this new integrated hot stage ring can withstand, the weight of a fully loaded ship during max Q. So yeah, this is overall a huge mystery. Last time they tested anything with a hot stage ring, they actually, the forward section of the booster had a hole through it, and then the hot stage ring was on top of that, and then a ship aft section was on top of that, and then they put the cap on it. So it's like a sandwich for that hot stage ring. And then the actuators had basically ropes coming up through the tank, the hole in the forward dome, and it was grabbing, I think, onto the inner wall or something like that of the hot stage ring. I can't remember off the top of my head how it was connected, but that was how they were testing the hot stage ring. So it's really weird the way that they have this dome set up in here, but I think there's a chance that those actuators are meant to actually connect to something higher up. Now that I think about it, it could even be maybe. I was going to say it could even be the grid fin actuators or the grid fin locations that they're connecting to.
Well, I think it'll show if they actually fill the tank or not. Because the only thing if they're hitting the bottom of the common dome, I mean, there's in reality not much of a dome left once you put the transfer tube in.
Yeah, I mean,
and they only have a bellows on that end as the transfer tube, so
right.
The tube, it's not like it's getting that much structural support from the transfer tube. So,
right.
But they packed insulation into the cavities for the grid fins.
Okay.
But that's not to say they didn't create another one of those spiders that they did for 18.1 over there to protect the actuators and just have holes in the to fill in where the transfer tube hits the common dome.
Yeah, I think one of the weird things was, though, right, that we haven't seen an area for them to connect pipes to actually fill this, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So if anything, it would probably have to go up through the bottom. But what we do see, what I think is new plumbing back, I think it's actually on the other side. Yeah, some new plumbing that's extending off of here, which is basically from the liquid nitrogen line. Maybe I should be able to see that from the other side. No, back here. Yeah, so I mean, they're running some pipes over there, so it's possible that they do plan to fill this up through the bottom of this, but I don't know. This
Below
one,
the dome, those capped off, and at the top as well. Those capped off vents. No, but they usually would put a flange on them and not cap them. That's
your
I think they are.
your mic's breaking up a little bit. You sound like you're inside of a fish tank.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
You sounded better. You sounded better right there. You're good.
Okay. Yeah, all the vent penetrations are capped off on the tank. There's one right up. Yeah, there's two there and then right there. So, and I don't recall seeing any of these with flanges on them. So
Yeah. I would say both. Like that's an indication to me that this is not going to be filled with anything.
yeah, or just gassed from underneath.
Right. Yeah. And
But it's
sorry,
there's no vent stack on the top of the dome either. So
yeah, I feel like for testing the forward section, you may not necessarily need to fill it because I mean, at max Q, at least this part of the this far down on the methane tank would be empty anyways. So as long as they just pressurize it, I feel like that would be enough to get the information they need, because that would be actually more realistic than filling it. But yeah, I'm really hoping that whatever they do here, it ends up over here after that, because if not, then maybe there's another methane forward section or another booster forward section that's going to come out for structural testing, because like I said, that's, in my opinion, one of the most important things to test, and I'm surprised that they didn't do that before everything else. Let's see here. Anything else that we...
Oh, there's just to the others. If you head down, I'm not sure if that image has it. Yeah, just to the right, those massive legs and framework that they're.
Yeah, we saw these a few weeks ago, and not really sure what it looks like they're adding things onto the side right here. Were these on before?
Yeah, those gusset plates are definitely new.
Okay.
Yeah. The two.
Yeah, this is gonna be a curious one. Do you have any ideas for it? What it's for?
Nothing good. I mean, it's for a while I thought it might be something for the Gantry, but since this is such heavier steels than its current frame, that doesn't seem plausible.
Yeah, part of me wonders if they're going to build a new cryo stand for the ship, but I don't think they need to do that. It should be easy to convert the existing one, possibly.
Yeah, it's being worked on over
Sanchez.
Yeah.
Yeah. So curious what this is actually going to be for then.
But yeah, that's the only interesting shiny thing.
Cool. Matt, do we have any questions for Sanchez?
We sure do. Chaos King asks, have we seen the static fire stand ship quick disconnect?
No, we haven't. So the last time when they built the first gantry, they basically constructed the middle and top sections first, and they had all of the plumbing installed in there. And like by the time they were ready to lift it on top of the legs, they lifted it on top of the legs down here. It was actually like sitting somewhere down in here. I think they had the legs were bolted into the concrete, and they put the stand on top of it. And then they lifted the whole thing over here. So by the time they actually put it over here, the QD and everything was already installed. But no, we haven't seen that yet over here. I imagine that'll be one of the last things, because it will essentially connect directly to all the pipeworks that's coming up on through the top. So yeah, we haven't seen it yet, and I don't think that's something they would necessarily leave just laying out here at this point.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely.
Maybe. If anything, it would be at Sanchez. That's where I would expect it to be when it shows up. And then they'll probably do a lot of the assembly work over there as far as with the actual frame to hold it and all that stuff. We'll be over at Sanchez. This is I think that's the booster QD for the old cryo stand. But yeah, we haven't seen anything related to that yet.
Cool, cool. So now Liam Donald is asking about the retractable floor. He says, why haven't they moved the static fire stand? Isn't the retractable floor unusable?
It's not that it's unusable. It's just that the system that they use to move it is damaged. So there's actually working on another Massey's episode right now explaining this part as well. So the system that moves this is basically down here in this corner, which we never saw for the longest time because of the fact that they had this drop off right here and it's tucked in behind there. And there's, unless you look at it from the backside, you can't see it. But they have not replaced those yet. And I think this should be fine because the wheels are on the bottom of it. And there's teeth on the side for the rack and pinion system that moves it back and forth. So I think all they need to do is replace the actual motors. But none of the electricals hooked up back here yet. So even though they do have all of the conduit coming out of the ground on the side over here, they haven't actually been able to start connecting anything yet. They're probably not even pulling wire through those yet, if I had to guess. So yeah, I think they're waiting to get number one, replace those motors, and then get everything connected before they can actually move it. I'm sure there's probably a way to do it without permanent infrastructure in place, but yeah, they don't seem to be in a rush to do that. And if they wanted to, they could bring the LR 11,000 over here and just lift it off of this the rail back here. But they don't seem interested in doing that, and would actually be a little bit more difficult now, kind of, now that they have the gantry over here. Not really. I take that back. It's pretty easy to just slide it out as you're lifting it. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think there's necessarily a reason to move the test stand. Unless they needed to drop something into the trench, and even if they did that, there's this big hole through the center, so they can drop things in through there. As far as actually fixing the test stand itself, they did have a bunch of scaffolding set up here a few weeks ago, and with the man baskets, they can easily get up there to do what they need to do. So I don't think there's necessarily a reason to move it. If anything, it just gets in the way of other things by moving it. So better off leaving it right here.
All right. And Chaos King asks, do you think B18.1 also has the side-mounted landing tank, or was it not necessary for these tests?
The horizontal piston that we all wondered what it was for is more than likely one of the attachment points for that tank that they're testing.
Yeah, so in that case, it probably wouldn't have the actual tank in there.
Right. And they also ask, is there any visible damage that we can see from B18.1 from that pop?
Nope. I think this is the horizontal actuator right there.
Looks like it.
Yeah, but without being able to see the other side, we can't really tell if there's any damage. I mean, there must be, considering it, ruptured. But even if we were able to see it, I have a feeling we wouldn't be able to see the location that's actually damaged. Like if one of these was damaged, you wouldn't even really know. You'd have to actually get close to it to really see it.
Yeah, for sure. They also had another question. Are the B18.1 transfer tube piston holes made in the same way as the grid fin holes in B18.3?
No, they're attached with bellows heading, directly attached to that internal structures was sitting on top of presumably the start of the transfer tube.
Yeah, we do have. I think I have a shot of that really quick. Let me see if I can. Oops. Yeah, here's that video right here. Let me open that. So yeah, this was it when it was rolling out. The are these? I don't think these are the actual sleeves right here. I think the sleeves go around these, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it basically separates the inside of the tank from the actuators so that they're not actually inside of the tank. Cool. Any other questions?
I have one last one from Pete's Guide. He asks, is there an
Matt,
update
really
on...
quick. They say your volume's a little bit low.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that here in just a second. But the Pete's Guide asks, is there an update on the crane collapse investigation? And are there any parts still at Massey's?
The crane's still here. Just they moved it down by the cellular antenna, by the white tank. It's you could there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as far as an investigation, we don't really. If there was one, I don't think we would know. They don't. It's not something that you're able to necessarily get information about, I would say. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's possible considering it's still here. But yeah, or they may just be waiting for something to actually come in and move it to another location. But yeah, not really sure on that one.
Most of those OSHA investigations run quite a while. And depending how wide of a scope that their investigation takes them down, they can be quite disruptive.
And that's all the questions we have for right now.
Awesome. Cool. Well, in that case, we will go ahead and move over to the Sanchez site, where there is not a ton for us to talk about this week. They're still down here cranking out pipe sections, most likely for Massey's, if I had to guess. Okay. Thumbnails are not loading there on the bottom. There we go. Yeah, so still cranking out a bunch of pipe sections. If I had to guess, mostly for Massey's, just because a lot of the stuff at the launch site is complete. There are still some parts at the launch site where they're still working on plumbing, but not much right now. They could also be preparing for, well, soon they're going to start preparing for the work that comes after Flight 11, because after Flight 11, there's going to be just massive amounts of changes going on at both at the tank farm and Pad A. So they may be getting a jump on all of that work that's going to be kicking off within the next month. Other than that, Sanchez has been kind of quiet. No progress on the booster transport stand. I mean, really, not much any of anything down here. Still have 2 nose cone lifting jigs going on down here. Still have some shielding for the bunker at the launch site that is still here, which will probably be moving soon. And all of the doors for the hold down arms are still in here, so they haven't started installing any of those yet. So I'm like trying to find those. Yeah. well, more of them have arrived at least. So
Yeah, I think we're up to 15.
yeah. So getting close to actually probably installing those soon, if I had to guess. And they're actually going to look pretty cool. I'm gonna pull this up over here first because I didn't think of this until just now. But Chrome Kiwi did a pretty cool render just showing what those will look like. So I'll go ahead and pull that up right here. So yeah, pretty cool the way those look when they're deployed. They're much larger than the doors for Pad A, because those ones were really only to cover the ship QDs, and whereas these ones close off the top of the hold down clamps, so much larger. And I mean, you could pretty much walk on these to access anything on the side of the booster. So yeah, that's pretty cool. If they actually came up just a little bit more, then you basically have a walking platform.
There's one of the 37 shots. They make it look like they do come up
All the
like
way.
a bit vertical, almost as if they're using them as a splash guard for when they
I mean, that's
fire
kind
up
of
the
cool though.
pancake. Yeah, it'd be a very interesting linkage they're using as well.
Right. Yeah, so they have all of those. Wow, every time I come back to this, it moves to a different spot. So 15 of those down here. Let's see, what else? The ship QD is probably the biggest thing in here that we've been keeping an eye on, the QD arm. And they are definitely working on it. You can see the guy up here right now. These are the high pressure pipes that they're working on over here. And still no actual cryo tubing yet, though. So there's, I think, basically 4 large pipes that we're waiting for them to install on this, which would be the methane, liquid oxygen, methane return, and then LOX return as well too. So we haven't seen them start that yet. There is some cryo tubing down here. I don't see any of the what do you call those? The swivel joints?
Yeah,
We
they're
haven't
not.
seen them down here.
And of all the places for them not to use the vacuum jacketed,
Right? The part
Yeah,
that's
'cause those-
actually exposed to the sun all day.
right? Because they did strip the insulation off those 2 long pipes as if they're
These ones?
right. Yeah, it looks like I kind of want to think those are going to Massey's.
Yeah, it's just really odd in general. I mean, and the fact that we haven't seen the second part of this arm even started to be constructed yet is interesting. It feels to me like everything related to the ship is behind schedule.
Yeah, it's
Like,
kind of on hold.
yeah, the booster is way ahead of schedule in comparison to the ship. In my opinion, because of the ship, we're probably not going to see Flight 12 until like January,
Yeah,
if not February.
might get booster static fire this year, but
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised to see a booster static fire, but I would be impressed to see any like an actual flight. I mean, I guess they do have 3 months, but in that 3 months they have to, I guess, even start constructing the first V3 ship. Cryo test it, get Massey's back up and running for both, I guess, the booster cryo test, but also for the ship as well too. I have a feeling that'll be ready long in advance, and the static fire stand, I wouldn't even be surprised if that's finished in advance of the first V3 ship being stacked, because we haven't really seen anything other than the nose cone so far for ship 39. And the other one thing we did see this week, though, which is interesting, for multiple reasons. This is the first version 3 aft section that we've seen for a ship, which actually looks very similar to the common dome section as well too. But you can see that it's in the scrapyard. There's 3 holes right here, and it's missing a thrust puck. So initially, I thought maybe this might have been like they made a mistake on it, and then but I think it's probably a Pathfinder. But I'm kind of hoping that they had this sitting in there for like a month and they just now decided to move it out, because if they're only just now getting to the Pathfinder for the aft section, that is interesting to say the least. That means that they don't even have the test tank ready yet. So yeah, that's interesting. But cool detail about these, just with the holes that we see coming through the dome right here, appears to be an indication that the RVACs will be basically partially the mounted inside of the LOX tank. So similar to the way that the grid fins, the housing goes into the methane tank on the booster, the RVACs will basically be recessed into the LOX tank of the ship. So that actually, I think, basically lowers. It may be. I don't know if it's a full ring section, but it basically lowers the aft dome by a full ring section, shortens the aft skirt by. No, actually, that wouldn't work. It would have to still be the same length, the aft skirt, in order to fit the center engines. But yeah, still very interesting the way that they're changing this. But yeah, the like I said, the fact that we're only just now seeing this is very interesting. I would have expected this to come out probably like 2 months ago.
Yeah, I was curious with some lowering it, perhaps for hot staging, give him a bit more separation. But
yeah, the other interesting thing about this one though is that it doesn't even have the thrust puck in it, which is a big indication that this was never intended to, like, they didn't make it like a mistake on this or anything, because I'm pretty positive they usually add the thrust puck before they sleeve this. So this must be just a Pathfinder specifically for the actual manufacturing technique of the sleeving, if I had to guess, and probably all the penetrations and whatnot through the dome. Let's see. Not really a ton else to talk about at Sanchez. Did I miss anything, Alex? It was just
no, it was fairly pedestrian.
Yeah. Okay. Well, in that case, I'll go ahead and move us over to the build site, where the Gigabay Foundation is coming along extremely fast. So they basically have this U section right here finished, and as of yesterday, they finished this middle section right here. And this is, I think, the single largest section that they have for the entire building. And they actually had 3 pumpers out here for that job. And yeah, it's pretty cool just being able to see this in progress. So much concrete. I don't know if we got a count of how much they laid just for this area, but it's insane, an insane amount.
I want to say 358, somewhere between 350 and 400. BJ and I were talking.
Do you know how many they've done total?
No. It was, each third of that is 120, so it was about 360. Because BJ and I were speculating whether or not they're.
No, I mean for the whole.
Oh God, no.
I'm guessing it's probably approaching 2,000 at this point.
Yeah. Because.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the end sections, or especially the middle, all three of those ends just swallow trucks worth of concrete.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. The weird thing that they've been doing this weekend, and I wasn't in show and tell yesterday to actually hear if they had any thoughts on this, but something weird that they've been doing over this last week is basically putting dirt on top of the completed areas and just adding dirt in the middle right here, which is really odd. I think, and for one, and this was something I was meaning to ask BJ yesterday. It's really weird what they're doing on the edges of this, because on pretty much all of the other areas where there's rebar, they, have the rebar pass through. Actually don't know how that works. Maybe you do, Alex. How do they put the rebar through the formworks?
They'll either drill holes, or sometimes they'll put styrofoam behind it, so it's easier to push the bars through. But yeah,
And how do you remove the formwork after?
you just, the holes are oversized, so there's some leakage, but generally you'll end up some of the times breaking the backer plywood.
Okay.
And yeah, there's no formwork by that edge.
Yeah,
which is
really weird. Like usually you have your rebar coming through here and then through the formwork, and so that it will connect to the floor basically. So this is really odd. I almost wonder if they're going to come back and cut it later for some reason. I don't get why they did this.
On Megabay 2, the floor floated. The pile cap and the final finish floor were not mechanically connected.
That is really weird.
And,
it's not even like a straight edge,
No, they just had a trench and good enough. As long as they had the 4-inch cover that they needed on that edge, they're like, oh well.
There's no way they're not going to cut that back out later.
It won't hurt anything.
Yeah.
And in some of those places, I mean, it's a meter plus concrete, so.
Do you have thoughts on why they're putting dirt on top of all of this? I figured maybe they wanted to protect this surface for some reason, but then they don't have it down here where they actually have the concrete trucks rolling in. Maybe if you they don't want to potentially drop structural steel on the concrete when they actually start bringing that in, but it seems a bit too early for preparing for that. So do you have any other ideas?
They may pour the finished floor well in advance, because all the formwork they're putting to protect the though they might just cover the whole darn thing with dirt, because those boxes are probably just to protect the embeds coming out rather than for when they pour the finished floor. That would just be bonkers.
Yeah.
And when they did protect some of that fill from rain, so yeah.
Yeah.
The other speculation is they might just put a dirt slip layer like they did on the bunkers. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Basically for isolating vibration, right?
Yep. Yeah, and it's very interesting. When I talked to BJ about it, he was pretty tired, so.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, like I said, a lot more progress on this. I think this morning they're currently digging out this area right here. So they basically they had to leave this so that they could get trucks in and out. But now that they've opened up the area right over here, they're able to drive around in that area instead of having to come straight through here. So it looks like they've started excavating this morning, so that they can actually do these corner sections basically. And then I imagine after that, they'll do the same thing over here. So basically just one at a time so that they're able to still have as much access through here without cutting off any egress for all of the concrete trucks and loads of rebar and whatnot that's being dropped off in here. So yeah, lots of progress though. And we don't have images of it, but we do know that at Roberts Road, they've started to bring in the tower cranes, or at least the trusses for the tower cranes. So that's the step that they're at down there. And I would say here we're probably at the rate that they're moving, maybe like 3 weeks away from that happening here.
Yeah, 2 weeks they should be, because it looks like they have 3 more pours left. So they've been averaging about 1.5 a week lately.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want to start. I mean, I guess they could start actually bringing in that crane rather soon if they wanted to. But as far as like structural steel, that will probably wait until this is finished because they have to bring the trucks in from this direction. So you wouldn't want to interrupt. You wouldn't be able to do any lifting operations while you're bringing concrete trucks in through this side. So yeah, I think it's at least 3 weeks away until we start seeing bridge crane or the tower cranes coming in here.
Yeah, they did start bringing the structural steel at Roberts Road.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll probably be a month before we see that here, unfortunately.
But they're moving super fast. They're catching up very quickly. So for Megabay 2, they're still working on the platforms down here. Like there's just so many of them. It's hard to keep up with how many they've already installed because every week we come down here, it seems like there's a completely new set that they're working on. But all of this is for the front right workstation, and I almost don't even remember there being this much for any of the other workstations. I mean, when we look inside of that bay, you can tell that there is platforms on pretty much every level, but I just don't remember them actually making this many of them at one time. So yeah, definitely working as fast as they can to get that done. And right now is actually the perfect time because, well, as of right now, there's nothing in Megabay 2. Ship 38 is currently at the launch site, so they have an empty bay right now. I think this is looking into, that's Megabay 1. Yeah, so Megabay 2 is empty, and I was talking to Jax this week, like it's kind of crazy to me that they have a fourth engine install station in here because it seems like they're way ahead of themselves on that. To me, it feels like that wouldn't be necessary until like 9 months from now, but they're, I guess, getting ahead of schedule. I'm surprised they don't have 2 stacking stations, and they only and because I imagine they're going to be moving pretty quick when they actually start stacking ships. So you would think that you would want 2 stacking stations and 3 workstations, and then you just leave completed ships in the garden for a while, if anything. But yeah, this almost seems like overkill to me. But I do think maybe this potentially is an indication of like the ratio of stacking stations to workstations or to engine install stations that we'll actually see. So in the Gigabay. So that'd be a 1 to 5. I was honestly expecting 1 to 4. I was expecting 2 to 3 ratio, but I think this may actually be an indication of what we'll see in the Gigabay. In the Megabay, we have a lot more interesting stories this week. So we did see this interesting workstand basically move into here, which was constructed in the Sanchez lot a few months ago. And we were very curious about what it would be used for, and then we finally got an answer on that. So this actually rolled out this week with an interesting tank on it, and it was funny because Lab's cameras actually went down literally moments before this actually rolled out, but we did get to actually see it come in through the backside of the ring yard. So you can see that basically this stand is designed with a crane on two cranes on it, which I'm really curious about this one. I don't think that's an actual crane. That's just a chain hoist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but interesting tank. Slightly smaller than 3 meters. I think it's about 2.4 meters or something like that. And then I'm not sure on the height of it, but this is very interesting. So they actually ended up rolling this into Megabay 1. And as you can see from this aerial shot, it is basically designed for a tank to be sleeved around it. So you had the tank was basically sitting right here, and then they lifted up booster 18 on top of this. And then within about a day, they had that connected to the tank, and then they brought out the aft section, which I'll touch on that in a second. So by the time Mauricio ended up doing this flyover, they had already lifted it off of this. But we do have a good idea, basically, of at least where it was installed, because it's pretty easy to figure out. So we can look at a render that Nick made of this. Actually, I forgot to pull that up. This was actually Nick has some other renders as well too, but I'm just going to show the ones that are public right now. This was from Marcus House's episode. So we can see where that tank is located within the aft section of the booster. It's weird. So I'm not sure how deep I want to go into this, but it's really just odd in general. So, you know, we're kind of under the impression that the tank that there's a pipe within the main methane header tank, or sorry, the methane transfer tube, or that this is the methane transfer tube, and then that basically the area outside of that is the LOX landing tank. That's kind of what the thought was, which would make the bottom one for basically the methane header tank. So you have a small methane header tank, and then the LOX header tank would basically go all the way up to the common dome. And then they brought this tank in here, and that throws everything off. So I know people are wondering what the thought is on this, and to tell you the truth, I have no idea. There is some speculation that this is basically an expansion of the methane header tank, which, in my opinion, would be crazy. Like it's doesn't necessarily make sense because it's just so much bigger than even the LOX landing tank on the version 2 booster. So if this is like a extra capacity type thing, and I guess let me back up. So I may need a render of the actual the full booster to explain this. So basically the booster, the methane tank is shorter than what it's going to be on the version 4 booster. And because of that, they're basically have too much LOX capacity and not enough methane capacity. And I'm not sure how I feel about this theory. But the theory that I've heard is that they'll end up on the version 4 booster just expanding the methane tank so then they have the proper ratios. And in the meantime, they're increasing the methane capacity by adding methane inside the LOX tank, which I have a hard time believing that. I think this is added to a lot more difficulty, a lot more complexity by storing methane inside the LOX tank. Just increase the capacity. Like I feel like you could just lower the common dome by one ring section and accomplish the same thing. I don't know why this would be necessary. What were you going to say, Alex?
unpopular view. The actual methane capacity is being held in the transfer tube is where they're holding the quote missing methane capacity, and that's just the LOX landing tank offset for it's better weight when it's coming in, and it's kind of when they first fire up the engines. It's also it just helps it hold the right attitude.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this, and the part that makes it the most confusing, is that there's a valve on both the top and bottom here, and so the size of this valve, I mean, you can even kind of just see it just by looking here. It's not very much bigger than the valves for each of the boost engines, the outer 20. So I don't think whatever's down here, the valve here, is big enough to supply 13 engines. So that's why I have a problem with this being landing tank related.
I could swore some of the ground shots almost made it look like the bottom piece had some holes in it, but I didn't see a very clear picture of that.
Yeah, it's weird. So I know a lot of you are wondering what it is, and literally my answer is we don't know. It actually made more sense if this was going to be installed into a ship. So when it first rolled out, that was my thought, was that this would be mounted inside of the nose cone of the ship. And in retrospect, I don't think that would have even been possible, because I don't know if the nose cone of the ship would fit over this. It may. I don't know if it tapers in too early in order to actually collide with this crane or not. But yeah, I thought this may have been intended to be like basically a propellant storage tank for the tanker version of the tanker version of the ship. This would be like the LOX storage in the nose cone. But now that it's in Booster 18, it just becomes a huge mystery. So unfortunately, I have a feeling this one's going to be very, very difficult to figure out, if not close to impossible. Because of the fact that as of the day after this, they actually brought out the aft section of the booster. This is also from Lab Padre. So the aft section of Booster 18 rolled out. And this is something we've been waiting on for a very long time. And I mean, there's just so many details we could talk about this, but the biggest detail is that as far as internals go, we don't really learn a lot from this, unfortunately. So all we can see is basically the bottom of what is either the methane header tank or the methane just transfer tube. So it's, I mean, if there was another pipe sticking out of this, or pipes coming out of the side of this, we would be able to get a lot more information, but like we really can't see much. The only actual pipes on the inside of the vehicle that we can see is this one sticking out right here, which you can, I think, see it a little bit better at one point. Yeah, it's kind of hard in all these angles. Starship Gazer has really good images of this. But yeah, there's one pipe sticking up here, which may even go into this, because there was a small pipe on the side of this, I think, as well too. So it could be going into that. But yeah, this what we're seeing sticking out of it is basically this right here. Wait. I think it would already actually be up here. And so this is going back to the actual this stand right here. This, I think the tank actually hangs down below this. And so this is like their intermediate stage before stacking onto the aft section. So what they did was they lifted Booster 18's aft or LOX tank off of this turntable onto this stand, mounted the tank, rolled in the aft section, moved that onto the turntable in this corner, and then lifted the LOX tank off of there onto that stand. And so we can actually even see in one of the angles a pretty good shot looking in through the side of the building. And we can see Booster 18 right here sitting on top of its LOX tank. And yeah, because it's already stacked, the chances of us figuring out more information on this is going to be very difficult.
Like 12. They'll recover it from the Gulf.
Yeah, I mean, that is honestly one of our best hopes, is that they do a water landing, and because it has a bunch of Raptor 3s on there, they'll probably want to recover the aft section. But I have a feeling they'll probably put a lot of effort into covering it up so we don't see the inside of it. I was actually surprised they didn't do that with Booster 13, but I think they didn't because they know that we pretty much know most of that stuff that's in there already. So they're like, all right, well, this is pretty much public, so we might as well just not even really worry about it too much. But yeah, I'm hoping that when Booster 18 lands in the water, that we'll end up seeing it, and when they bring it back, and then maybe we'll get some information on the inside of that tank. But they tend to cut off, like if they were going to recover it, I'm pretty sure all the stuff that we want to see, other than the very bottom of the tank, will be removed and left on the bottom of the ocean. So we may not be able to put too many details together. It's sad. Let's see. I mean, Alex, do you have any thoughts on this?
Other than I'm going on the contrarian, and that's the LOX landing tank. No. And if the pipe coming up is for the heterogeneous pressurization of that tank, that would kind of, I think, more indicate that, though we didn't see the methane side. And that's ruining my theory, because I'll have to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, the other options would be a replacement of or basically a CO2 tank for fire suppression. But with the way that the V3 booster is designed, I don't think it's going to have fire suppression system. And if it does, it's going to be smaller than what's on the current generation of boosters, not larger. So I don't think you're going to be storing CO2 in here. I've heard people suggest that it could be a large COPV tank. So like basically removing the COPVs from the side of the booster and storing that in one large tank. But it's not insulated. And as far as we can actually tell on this, like all of the COPVs are still going to be on the side. So these are the basically where the chines and the strakes are going to be located. And we can see all of the piping right here, which is what we know is going to be for COPVs. So it's not a COPV replacement. So yeah, it's either LOX or methane storage, and just overall super odd. Yeah, I mean, I really wish we could see even just the bottom of the LOX tank would tell us a lot. But yeah, a lot of confusion going on here, I would say.
Yeah, especially since it's only 2 rings high and nothing was peeking out.
Yeah. So after they installed this, we finally saw the mystery stand move into the Megabay 1. So, like I said, Booster 18 was moved off of this turntable in the corner, and then this was basically mounted in the middle of that turntable. So it seems like this just wasn't ready in time for booster 18. And now that they're ready to start stacking the forward section, they put it in here. But this seems to be like it's going to be used for both of them, and that'll be permanently in here. So they do normally set up scaffolding on the inside of the tank, and I guess this is their way around not having to do that anymore. But it's curious though having this in here, because I do wonder. Well, yeah. So with the LOX tank, they'll be able to, when they drop in the transfer tube in through the top, it'll basically come through this hole right here. So any work that they do below that will still be able to happen while they're on the scaffolding. So yeah, I think they also, so there's two sections of that tank, and I think the lower section would be basically sitting in here, and then the upper section drops in on top of it. And so there may be welding robots on this platform that as the table is turning, well, that would be weird actually, because you would need to turn the transfer tube as well. I wonder if there's another turntable in the middle. That would be interesting. Yeah, that just threw everything off actually, because you couldn't use the turntable if there's a welding robot in here. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, because it's the bottom section that would have to rotate.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and if this whole platform turns with the turntable, then that wouldn't work either.
No.
Yeah, like I said, a mystery, but at least we know where it's going now. It's in that corner, and we probably will see them start stacking the booster methane tank soon. If I had to guess, that it's going to start with the actual forward section, with the hot stage ring. They do have this load spreader right here, which is used for that purpose, and it's still sitting out here, which I think means that we'll probably see that come out soon. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if by the next show that we do, if that forward section is already rolled out. Let's see, anything else down here? Not really.
Drainage, but nothing important.
Yeah. Do we have any questions, Matt, from Booster 18 related stuff?
Not really. Most of it was just kind of speculation about that tank. So really our questions are pretty light.
We should have a poll.
I do see a question in the chat from Elliot. Why not just get on with the version 4 booster instead of... well, the version 4 booster, the only reason there's a version 3 booster is because there's no Gigabay yet. So this building is not tall enough to stack version 4 boosters. So the version 3 is basically an intermediate version of the booster to allow them to move on from version 2. But they can't do what they want to do with the boosters until this building is complete. I don't even know if I think the V4 ship could fit in here, but the V4 booster cannot. So yeah, that's the reason that all of this is happening, more than likely. But I mean, now that I say that, well, yeah, I was gonna say, if the version 4 boosters, if they still have this tank, then that'll tell us a lot. I imagine we'll probably figure it out before then, but we won't even see this on the version 4 booster because the Gigabay will be complete, and when the Gigabay is done, we're not going to be really seeing stuff like that. Unless somebody happens to be outside when it comes out of the door and rolls around to the backside to go in there, we're not going to see really anything anymore. So yeah, that'll be sad. Basically, I have to put a camera right here to catch everything that rolls out of this building. That'll be the only chance we have, and I doubt anybody's going to permanently put a camera here, but maybe they will. I don't know.
Look at you, lab.
It won't be a very exciting camera, I'll tell you that. It'll be like once every week and a half that it actually catches anything.
Yeah, and we just had one come in from Fawzilla asking, would the new tank need pressure/load testing before adding to B18?
Well, it's already been added to Booster 18. So yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily a load bearing component. Like the transfer tube and landing tank do experience a lot of different loads, especially during reentry, during the landing burn and boost back. This tank, not so much. I mean, the mounting brackets on the side of the tank are probably something worth testing. But yeah, I mean, not necessarily the tank itself. As far as pressure tests go, I'm pretty sure they pressure test the entire vehicle before it moves out of the bay. This is part of the reason why they have hoses connected to the QD. These are not these ones. These are actually just for AC inside of there, I think. But as far as I know, at least on the ship, they definitely pressure test before it leaves. That's why they have QDs on the actual workstations, so they can basically pressure test before they move it out for crowd testing. But yeah, I'm sure they may have something like that in here on the new workstation, probably. But one of those things that near impossible for us to know.
Though another test tank the other day went off to McGregor.
And
I thought that was arriving.
I thought it was departing.
Oh, the one that Starship Gazer got a picture of?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it was. Go on.
No, I was gonna go on to a question that Drunar just sent in through a super chat. He gave us $5 Canadian and says, "Hold up, Zack, might the mystery tank be for ice separation of the autogenous pressurization, eliminating the need for screens and filters?"
If this is filtration for that would be kind of wild. I don't think so. I think that they're not necessarily going to be worried about that anymore. That would be interesting, actually. Yeah, I don't think they're going to be worried about that anymore. I mean, you would have to, in order to contain it within here, you would have to have your autogenous gas come up through the bottom of this and then out through the top. Like basically bubble through there, but by doing that, you would basically collapse that ullage gas. So yeah, I don't think you would be able to actually pressurize the tank by pumping your autogenous gas through a liquid.
And from the aft section, we can map out that the gas is still running up the side of the booster.
Right. Yeah, that as well. And as far as we know, they're not necessarily going to be caring about ice anymore. Like I don't even think they'll have a large filtration screen like they have on the V3 boosters, because assuming that the landing tank or the that there is some component of this that is related to liquid oxygen, they should really not have to worry about ice. If I feel like there should be enough capacity within this downcomer if the intermediate area right here is for locks, that they'll basically use that for boost back and landing, so they won't really be worried about ice.
Perfect. And we've had a couple more come in. Spacey Plum asks, do you think version 3 will do many operational missions, or will it be version 4 before you see a lot of those?
I'm guessing operational missions like carrying a payload.
I would imagine that's probably what they mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we may be done with dummy payloads. I don't know. I guess I wouldn't be surprised if they do it again on the next launch. Um, but after that, I mean, maybe the first V3. I don't know. Maybe the first two, if that, they'll probably do dummy payloads again. But after that, I would expect that if they know that they can deorbit the ship properly, then they'll start doing at least Starlink missions. So we're going to be seeing V3 boosters until this is done, and they're also going to be shipping them down to KSC. So I imagine that when they start shipping them down to KSC, it's primarily for Starlink missions and it's not for R&D related missions. So in my opinion, the V3 booster would be the first one to be considered operational instead of R&D or prototype. Sorry, everything up to this point has been prototypes. V3 will be the first one that we can probably consider to be operational.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you can hit the Starlink shells from Boca as well with the approved orbits. Or
Really?
yeah, I thought they'd have to put a pretty severe dogleg to do it, because I thought those were closer to 40 degrees. I think
Okay.
they're. Yeah, I'd have to look up, but
And we've got way more rolling in now. Yazato with a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for that. Says the ship and booster internals will be much more mysterious when Gigabay opens. And a couple of not very happy faces with that one.
Yep,
And
the days of ship watching are coming to an end.
absolutely. And Elliot asks if the version 4 booster engines and quick disconnect are not really different from the version 3 booster, could they just move on to version 4, or is the current version 3 still necessary?
Um,
And I would imagine the answer to that is yes, it is still necessary because we literally don't have a bay big enough for version 4 yet.
yeah.
Yeah. So then we have Mechazilla asking a fun question. Do you think version 3 of Starship will be the first one to go to the moon?
No. Well, I guess it would have to be. Right? If they're trying to wait, never mind. So the mission that they're trying to do, the main mission for 2026 is actually Mars, right? So
yeah, they'd have to set up a depot and get
yeah,
tankers rolling.
yeah. So that I feel like that would be the next thing we'll see is V3 ships. Then we'll probably see a tanker version and a depot version, and ideally an HLS.
Right?
But and I mean, we'll probably see maybe 5 different. Well, the one they send to Mars, I don't know what that one will be. I don't know if it'll just be a regular ship. Probably that'll be its own version as well too, if I had to guess. Yeah,
Yeah, it was a slightly changed heat shield as well.
yeah, definitely.
And Kai Nessel is asking, how do we know that there is a transfer tube inside of the big header tank? They thought that the big pipe is the header tank and transfer tube.
We don't. So the what we do know, and I'm gonna have to pull up. Let's see. I think this is it. Okay, so the first component of the aft section that we saw roll out was this one that's in the back corner over here. So this basically is a pipe within a pipe. right there. So because of this, most people have assumed that that exists here as well too. Because I think what we were seeing right there was basically this section right here. Sorry, basically from here up to like here, and then there was the other pipe sticking out of it, and so it's kind of been assumed that that inner pipe goes all the way to the top. I personally am not as convinced of that, but if it doesn't go all the way up to the top, that's even more confusing, because why would it just stop right here? So yeah, it's overall massive mystery.
And most everything else is kind of like speculative questions and stuff. So I think in the interest of moving along, we should probably go on to the next area.
Cool. Literally nothing to talk about with Star Factory. But they do. Yeah, I don't think there's anything interesting sitting out here right now. This is weird.
Yeah, it was gray 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, no idea. That's one of those things that when it rolls out with something else on top of it, we'll figure out what it is. But there's so many workstations that they've made that we don't know what they are for. But luckily, we've been able to figure some of them out recently. Most recently, the one for that mystery tank. But yeah, with the apartment complex, making some good progress. Not much to really say about that, but definitely chugging along. Finally, getting close to joining these two parts of the building. So these cranes are basically working opposite of each other around in a circle. But yeah, making some good progress on that. As far as the rest of the village goes, I don't really think there's anything new down here, so not much to really discuss. They are adding a new gate in the front here. This was something that we've been expecting for a while. That pretty much the last, the only areas you'll be able to access if you visit down here, it basically ends over here, and then there's gates here and here. So you basically could drive through here and make a U-turn and go back out, but that's pretty much the end of the access that we have down here. So I'm sure the SpaceX employees appreciate that. We got a sidewalk basically almost going all the way to the launch site now, which is nice for people getting out, riding bikes and whatnot. Yeah, other than that, not really much worth talking about at the village. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and move over to the launch site. And I think we'll start with the ASU because there's also not much to talk about there. This one's been really confusing to me. I'm not 100% sure what's going on here. It seems like half of this is related to potentially running pipes through here, but I just can't imagine them running pipes in this way. But on this side, it kind of looks like a big curb, so like a almost like a storm surge protection wall. That's only probably about, I don't know, 3-4 feet high, maybe. But yeah, I have no idea what's going on here. Do you have thoughts, Alex?
It's gonna be just that. It looks like there's rebar sticking up, so they're gonna extend the height of that wall. But and then just from some of the early docks that were, yeah, no clue. Just a very large blast wall facing Highway 4.
But yeah, and it seems like progress down here is kind of slow, even though we do often with labs cameras look over in this area just to see if they're actually working down here, and they've been working every day. So yeah, I mean, it's just a huge mystery among mysteries. That's weird. Like, this is several feet higher than this.
Yeah, I just noticed that step down.
Anyway, another area not much to talk about would be the tank farm. They are basically in a holding pattern here. So everything I think that can be done in the tank farm has been done. If anything is ready for pad B testing, I would say it's the tank farm. They have started to do some preparations for what's coming after this. So I guess I'll let Alex talk about that because he was the one who I had to ask what this was about. So basically, they added this little pipe section in here. This almost looks like an expansion joint. But Alex, what do you think that this is actually for?
It's once pad A is done to physically disconnect that tank farm. The other thing is when they're testing, having the large dead end will just be constantly boiling and introducing gas into the stream, which is less than desirable.
Right. Yeah. Because the LOX tanks basically split in both directions, so they feed both pad A right now and pad B. So the part that goes to pad A, they basically have a shutoff valve here, so they can close that in, which will allow them to basically isolate this whole side, right? And then once flight 11 is done, they can start working on everything on this side, basically.
Right. It's hard sealed. Don't have to worry about it. Just the other week, they actually connected the LOX supply into the new Pad B's pump farm. So they kept them isolated to the bitter end.
Yeah.
Flight 11, it's going to be a little bit different, but marginally.
Wait, are you saying these weren't connected to pad B?
Yep.
So they just
it was right between the two vertical tanks. Right, actually between just to the left or right of that vent, there's a shiny, small piece of large. Yeah, right there. That was the east-west one. That's the main lock supply.
And was it connected to a different one previously?
It was capped off, and just the two end tanks were being utilized for all the Pad B testing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. So
Yep.
So wait, it was capped like in here, in between here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like they've joined it. Are you sure? Oh yeah, they have.
Yeah. Yeah. Last week there's a better angle, and it's corresponding to them switching over the new pressure building system, and it's growing 5 more vaporizers.
Yeah, so that's the only other thing that they've been doing down here is preparing to add in these new vaporizers down here. Yeah, so basically expanding that vaporizer farm. Is this all for the same? Actually, I can't tell if it's connected down there.
It should all be for the lock side.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't have enough vaporizing capacity for the flow rate that it looks like they're trying to achieve.
Right, that makes sense. But that is a sign of exactly how fast they're going to be pumping liquid oxygen. You have 4 of these compared to, six for methane, and then that's what, 10 for LOX.
Right.
Yeah.
And 6 for nitrogen, so they should only use a tank and a half of nitrogen. So it's like,
Yeah, the nitrogen one is weird, but that's used for other purposes as well. That's your
everything.
Pressure building system basically valve actuation and isolate, purging everything.
Yep.
Yeah. So interesting developments down here. They're like I said, it's amazing how quickly they got all of this done, and like I said, they're basically ready to move on to actually testing Pad B as far as the tank farm goes. So great job on getting all of that stuff finished. Moving over to this area, actually, I'm going to go with Pad A first because there's also not as much to talk about there. But we do have ship 38 out here right now, and this is the first ship to come out with a fully completed heat shield. I think it's missing a few up on the nose cone somewhere, or it was. But these aerials don't necessarily do it justice because it looks just really, really good when you look at it from the ground. I mean, I think it looks good from the air too. But yeah, they're basically are done with the most of the tile experiments. I don't think they don't have any metallic tiles on here as far as we know. There's no tiles intentionally left off. So they're basically done with that. So I think this is the ship with the best chance of coming in without damage on it. So I'm excited for that. It'll be nice to see a comparison of the performance of this. Most of the areas that were truly damaged were just the aft flaps. And I feel like that would have turned out better had it not been for the basically issue with the chill down lines. So I don't know. I think it's going to perform a lot better, but not necessarily because of the heat shield. Just because whatever they're going to do to prevent that explosion from happening again. As far as we can tell, they haven't moved any of those pipes. They're both still in that same location. So whatever they're doing to prevent that from happening is probably a procedural change as far as the order that they vent those gases out. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. But like I said, I'm pretty confident that we'll never see that same situation happen again. But yeah, this is a pretty rapid turnaround, I would say. I think, I usually don't like to make predictions on timelines, but because they end up being wrong. But this one was actually pretty close. I think when I was asked about it a few weeks ago, I said probably 2 weeks between launch and static firing the ship. So yeah, we are. If it wasn't for some issues that they had this week, they probably would have already done this by now. So they usually do a single engine test first, followed by a 6-engine test. The first day that they attempted to do this was on Thursday, and they basically aborted that before they even started loading the methane tank, and then they ended up taking off the disconnecting all the hoses from the ship QD, and what else did they do? I think they pulled the entire QD plate off, and they had to do something with the actual on the ship side, and they reconnected that. Basically, filled the tank up on Friday, and it looked like they were about ready to do another static, or finally do the static fire, and then they ended up aborting that one as well too. So I don't think we've been able to figure out what caused that one. So it's a bit of a mystery, but I'm assuming the next attempt will probably be tomorrow. So have we seen a closure for that yet?
Thought they posted last night, but let me.
Yeah, I was just looking in my Discord server to see if beach closure September 22nd, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So yeah, I'm surprised they don't have two of them up there, because I would expect back-to-back days that they're going to do the single engine followed by the 6-engine. It's curious to me that they don't do both of them on the same day.
That's what I was wondering, if they're finally going to give that a shot and do back-to-back tests. But
yeah, I mean, I guess the one reason not to do that, well, on the flame trench, at Massey's, I could see why they maybe wouldn't do that, because they like doing the 60-second tests. Obviously, we don't know if they're going to continue doing 60-second tests. I imagine we'll probably see one with the first V3, maybe the first two, and then they may go back to the short duration tests. But I'm pretty positive they have enough water in this farm to do 2 back-to-back tests. So, yeah, it would be interesting if they do it both on the same day, but I think that would probably be the limiting factor preventing them from doing it, is the water. But yeah, they seem to not like to do multiple tests in a day. Have we ever seen 2 stack fires in one day?
No. Yeah, it also seemed like for the singles that they might just get away. Don't have to run the whole deluge, but they definitely, that's speculation. Even though they have.
To be honest, like, they could, with this being the last launch, I mean, you probably wouldn't want to do this, but like, you could probably do the test without the deluge, at least the single engine one. I'm pretty positive the plate can handle a single engine. I mean, if they did them even closer to the ground on concrete on the test stands, I'm pretty sure this plate could probably handle that. I mean, it only has one more launch to do after this, and then it's pretty much moving on from there. It's going to be scrapped. So, yeah, I mean, they're probably not going to do that. Not worth risking causing damage that will affect them during the launch. But, I mean, it would be kind of cool to see, like, them not use the deluge system on the next launch.
Yeah, because suborbital B was, what, a third the height of this?
Yeah. I feel like they get away with it. Like, they could do it on the next launch, and it would, I mean, it may make the getting rid of this launch mount a little bit easier. Actually, it'll probably make it harder if it melts stuff down there, but
2-inch stainless, it's not going to melt too much.
Yeah, why not send it off in style, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, and not catching it after, there's really no reason to run the deluge next time. Yeah. Anyways, that's about all we have for Pad A. You know, one thing about Pad A, actually, so I feel like they used some of the cladding panels that were intended to go to Pad B, because they're wider. You can see they're 1.5, 50% larger than the other panels. So I'm pretty positive everything that all these gray ones will be moved over to, are there more on the other side?
Probably.
I think there's 2 of them down there. Yeah, so those will probably get moved over to the other tower after. And on that note, they have started installing cladding on, or more cladding on the tower this week. They even did more this morning, which is not going to be visible here. But yeah, this is actually really cool. They were doing it as this flyover was happening, so we can see them lowering in one of those panels right here. So I think up to this point they added this one in, and then they added 3 more up here. So that almost matches the height on the other side of the tower. And as far as we know, they'll at least be going up to this level. I'm really hoping they go most of the way up to the top eventually. I forgot actually this morning, I was going to go and look to see how many panels they had laying around elsewhere. I know down here they had 5 of them, and they've already installed 3 of them. So that's at least 1 more level, plus the 4 that are at the other site. That's 2 more levels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's more down here too. So yeah, I think we'll probably see them, if I had to guess, at least up to the QD. But like I said, I would really like to see them go all the way up to the top of the tower, because that's how they showed it in their renders since day one. So I imagine that's the plan eventually. We're kind of getting out of the R&D phases as much. I mean, not necessarily. It's still in R&D phases, but On the GSE side, I would say they're probably hoping this is their final design that they'll just copy and paste everywhere else. Whereas Pad A was like definitely a prototype. So I wouldn't consider this to be a prototype launch mount. Therefore, I do think that they'll probably install cladding all the way up to the top eventually. Yeah. And speaking of cladding, they have done a ton of cladding on the bunker structure, and it looks, even without being finished, like a completely different bunker. I really like the way this is turning out.
Finally living up to the bunker name.
Right? Yeah, stainless steel everything. The only thing that can make it better is if you couldn't see the seams on this, but there's not really going to be a way around that. Yeah, I think this is just 1,000% better than Pad A. It almost makes me sad that they're covering it now because, you know, it's been fun watching all of this development. But we'll get to see it again when they do Pad B, Pad A. So yeah, they still got some more to add in the corner specifically. So this is 3 separate pieces right here, and then obviously the ones in here, and on the opposite side, the actual deck. I think I feel like they've been done with the deck for quite a while. Most of the scaffolding and whatnot has been for the area in the hold down for the hold down arms, and as far as we know, that's remaining. They still have to add those doors. They have to add in at least 4 more pipes. The large liquid oxygen, the liquid oxygen return, and then the large methane and methane return. And then bring in the backside of the housing. And yeah, I mean, as far as we know, there's not much else other than that. But the big news of the week is that they did 2 back-to-back Deluge tests. They actually did 3 this week, I think. So we did see that for the first time, and I will go ahead and show those because it's pretty crazy. So let me pull that up. I thought I had that ready to go already, but you know, I guess I'm a slacker. So this right here is the first test that we saw, and this was on, of course, the date's hidden, the 13th. So, okay, I guess they probably talked about this on Wednesday, I'm guessing. But this first test, it seemed like they primed up the system down here. So this is the vent on the top of the weir pipes. So I'll go ahead and show those really quick. I'm gonna switch these around. So the top of the weir pipe, go away. These vents right here. So same ones that they have on the Pad A Deluge system. So you can see just a small vent right here. And I remember when I first saw this, I was like, okay, it's pretty comparable. And then, so I think what happened here was that they turned on the generators and pushed water up through the weir, and then kind of allowed like a siphoning effect to happen, and for it to basically flood all the way to the launch mount. And then they kind of just let it flood. I believe they sat there for about 10 minutes letting it do that. Honestly, I'm not sure if the generators ever turned off, but that's a topic of debate between me and BJ. So then near the end of that, about 10 minutes later, they ran the system again, and then we were able to see water spraying out from here. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, that's cool. It's like it doesn't really stick out. It's not like a massive flow. I'm pretty sure it probably looks a lot crazier if you were looking in the trench. But then we saw the test a few days later. Oh, okay. I guess they actually did back-to-back tests 2 days in a row. So this is from the first attempt of that static fire, and luckily one camera was zoomed out in order to see this because every other camera was focused over here when they did this. And it was raining out, so that's why it's a little bit blurry. But you can see far more water flowing out this time. I mean, Jesus. it's almost not even worth showing this one compared to what we're look at next. So this is the test they did the next day. Wait, do I have both of them? I feel like I'm missing one. Huh, I hope not. So this is I think the first one in the morning. Well, actually, let me back up a little bit, because the crazy part about this is that these tests were 1 day apart. So after the first test, they didn't even bring in. I think they brought in a few more water trucks, but they basically have the sump pumps inside of the trench working. So they basically drained most of that back to these tanks, and then just ran it again. And I don't think much of it exceeds this boundary. I mean, there's definitely a little bit. It's difficult to tell right now because of the rain how much overflow there is on this. But some of it ended up over here in the little retention pond. But I'm not sure if that's just drainage from the rain, because there was quite a lot of rain. But yeah, we can see this test right here. Oh man, you know what? I zoomed this in. I think I want to show the one where I didn't zoom it in. Actually, I'll finish showing this first. But yeah, so you can see just far more water squirting out of there. And while that's playing, I'm going to go look for the other version of this that I did. And I think this went for about 50 seconds-ish. And we believe this is the flame bucket. And then the second test was most likely the ridge cap on the flame bucket. So just to clarify that, there's there's multiple different water sources in here. So there's one for the bucket, and then there's one for the ridge cap. And so the one for the ridge cap is this one right here, I think. But most importantly about this, we're going to look at the vent down here. Wait. Is this the right one? Just keeps going and going and going and going. Almost all the way up to the top of the tower. I think the drain vent, when it turns off, is even higher, I think. But yeah, this is the ridge cap, and you can just see just massive amounts of water flowing out of there. So yeah, this definitely exceeds the boundary of the pad yet again.
Oops.
It's so funny. Like, it's just like, I really thought that most of it would be contained within the trench, but clearly not. I mean, there's probably a large portion of it that stays in the trench, but a lot of it actually exceeds the boundary as well, especially with the ridge cap. And I feel like I'm gonna check this one really quick. So what time is this one? Okay, yeah. So that definitely, these are as far as reaching near the top of the tower. So this is basically at its peak. I have a feeling. So I think the highest is right here. I could have sworn I saw a view where it actually exceeded that. Either way, that's insane. An insane amount of pressure to push it that high up in the air. And I mean, obviously, if you're pushing out water from the trench like that, that's just ridiculous. I'm kind of sad that we didn't get any drone shots from SpaceX, but I imagine by the time we do that, it'll be when they test the full system. But the best thing about this, I would say, is that within 24 hours, they're able to pump all of that back to the tanks and then do it again. So that's pretty impressive, and that's one of the things that is just not even in the realm of possibility on Pad A. If they trigger the deluge system during a countdown sequence, then they have to basically spend a day or two refilling all the water tanks. Here, I imagine the amount that they have to replace is a lot less. I do think we'll probably end up seeing this wall built up a little bit more. Yeah, so like down here, they'll probably want to slope it all down this way so that anything that comes out here, besides what goes over the wall, because there's a good amount that goes over the wall. Ideally, they want all that to flow back over here. So that's still nowhere near as much water as is leaving the pad for Pad A, which is pretty much all of it. So it's definitely a nice change, and I guess this is the first time we've seen this without scaffolding down here, and it looks pretty incredible.
Yeah, I don't think that was a full charge for the ridge.
You mean as far as full power?
Yeah,
I feel
It's
like
just-
I feel like the ridge probably was, but the bucket wasn't.
whichever weir was shooting Old Faithful up to the near top of the tower was probably
Was the-
full power.
Yeah, that was the ridge.
Okay.
But yeah, that just really, really impressive seeing that. That's vastly more power than what they're using on Pad A. Like, it's insane. Which makes sense actually, because this is slightly closer to the bottom of the booster, I think.
It's very close.
Yeah.
It's under 40 feet.
Yeah. So I mean, you could see it's easy to tell the difference between the ridge and the bucket just because of how high the water's flying. Because I think I don't think there's holes right up here. That wouldn't be smart.
They are, but I think they're cross drilled, so they're leaving it.
An angle.
Yeah, because if they were vertical, they would just be
Go straight
unpleasant.
on the booster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could turn that on at ignition, like right at ignition. You could, but I think you would want this rolling before that. I imagine both of these will probably turn on at the same time. If anything, this one may turn on slightly earlier. I don't know if they may want to build up a little bit of water down here for ignition, because ignition, you have a pretty large pressure wave that travels through here. And so you may want water down here the initial ignition, it blows all of that water out in a huge cloud. And then you have the basically steady state flow after that. I feel like I've been looking into their deluge systems, and it seems like they do that at Vandenberg specifically. They allow the water to pool down here before ignition. So it'll be interesting to see if they do that here as well too. One of the big things that's missing from this is being able to reclaim this. So I guess we're not sure if they're gonna. Well, actually, no. We do know what the plan is, at least, because of the fact that we saw them run a basically collection pipe all the way down to the bottom corner down here. Okay. So it basically runs. I think it comes out down here, and then there's another pipe that comes through the wall right here. So I believe they'll end up installing some sort of pump right here to send it back to the tank farm. And then we do know that there is a pipe sticking out right here, which is basically that return to the tanks. So yeah, I mean, this isn't really that much water that they're even storing up here. But I guess when they do the the test of the deck, there'll be even more down here. But I have a feeling the deck is going to spray even further than the trench does.
Yeah, it's good.
Probably going to exceed the wall.
And it should be a bit more impressive since there's no legs blocking it.
Yeah. Well, no, the legs actually combine the flow a little bit on pad A, and it's actually more volume coming out than it should through the legs if they weren't there. So I don't know. I feel like it might be slightly less impressive, but more visible, I guess. As far as like being able to actually see it as it's coming out of the plates.
Yeah, none of it's gonna make it to the ground on their property.
No. You can actually see, I think, you can tell how far out it landed.
Yeah.
Because it almost looks like somebody was walking in here, like the way it splashed down.
Yeah. That poor silt fences. And of course that edge is gonna erode again.
Right. Well, the good news is they will be expanding the site over here, so we won't see too much of that for a very long time. But yeah, well, like I said, one of the things they're missing though is that actual pump system down here. And initially, I did think that they may have brought in equipment for that, but BJ had his theory and I had mine, and I think BJ is correct on this. So let me see if I can find a good shot of it. But they are building a pretty deep, just a little hole in the ground right here, a trench. And oh, sorry, I guess I should back up. They brought these. What do you call this, Alex?
Lift station. They're essentially it's a dry well. I don't know if it's capped. This one's capped on the bottom.
Yeah, so it's capped. And then there's a hole for a pipe coming in through here, and then 2 holes coming out through here. So you're probably have water flowing in from the side, and you're pumping it out of the top. So I guess I'm curious: is the drainage system all going into here?
Yeah, there's this whole area. If you look right on the other side of the right, where there's that pond, there's that. Yeah, that entire area used to have these seeps, and
yeah, I thought it came out right here, right?
Yeah, so this is sort of for dewatering.
Is it dewatering or is it rainwater collection almost? Like,
well, it's dewatering the groundwater, the whatever's coming off the road.
Right. But so I guess my question is are they going to be collecting that stormwater, filtering it, and then storing it?
They probably have to update their with FAA since they specify for the EPA that it's potable water, and testing whatever's coming up out of the, which is kind of ridiculous because they're essentially pumping what would be already on the flats. Yeah. But so yeah, just recovering. And I mean, it's a dry well, so it'll just percolate up through the bottom. So there will be quite a bit of water flowing in.
But wouldn't you think they would need multiple of those throughout the site instead of just in this one location?
That's just where I thought there's some shots that look like they had sons of weeping pipes. The pipes with holes in it that you essentially use for French drains or leaching fields. So, and I mean, depending how the site is graded, you could have that huge expanse of concrete just flowing down to this section.
Yeah.
Especially with the documents calling water storage 2 or whatever it was.
Yeah, that's what they said right here, water storage 2.
Yeah, so
Actually, I think it's actually right here. It doesn't go all the way down to here.
Yeah, you'd still need, if they're going to try and reuse surface waters, they would still need a central collecting point before they treat it.
That wouldn't be a bad idea, though. I mean, it's such a large pad that if you did collect all the water,
Oh yeah,
I mean, I can't imagine right now it's hard to imagine because of how dirty everything is, but when we see what pad A looks like when it's clean, ideally most of the time this area will be somewhat clean. So the filtration won't be excessive, I don't think. So
I mean, even for the dirt, you just need settlement basins. So
right. Let's see. I think there's more with the launch mount area that we should probably discuss, but I'm not sure if I'm missing anything.
there's the sump connections that I don't know if we can see this week.
In the trench?
No, by the weirs, where the sump pump ends up on the other side of the wall. I didn't see. Yeah, it's two tanks, large tanks, right next to the blast wall.
These ones?
No, where we were, just the two big tanks down.
These ones?
Yeah, and between there, that's the sump, and it
Are there
has
two
one
of
of.
just-
No, one of them leads up to the second level of the OLM.
Okay.
So that one there is a sump. And previously, that manifold went to one of those heavy-duty black hoses that they previously had a trash pump that they're filling the.
I was hoping there was an angle where I could see that a little better.
Yeah, it'd
Stupid
have
one.
to be looking to the west. Yeah,
Yeah, we
the
can't really
weir's
see.
in the way.
Yeah. So is there a manifold that goes all the way across for just these tanks right here?
There's one fill pipe that I'm not sure which pipe it goes to, but since they're all connected on the bottom, you only need one.
But it only returns to these tanks, not these ones?
No, there's one of the small lines that crosses around the weir should be the other tank's fill line.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I imagine that you don't, unless you're testing the system, you probably wouldn't ever have enough water to fill more than just these tanks. But I guess it is good to allow it to fill both sides. Speaking of filling, Alex and I have been wondering what they were doing for the fill station for the longest time, and
More confused than ever.
Okay, so yeah, we knew that this was probably going to be a fill manifold here, and we thought that the only reason it wouldn't make sense for this to be a fill manifold is because you can't get trucks back here. I mean, there's so many nozzles here, or there's so many fill stations here. Number one, they're too close together for having a truck for each one of them parked next to each other. Well, I suppose that's not true if you're using hoses, but it's just weird. It's just really weird that it's here. I hope this is like a temporary location for it. Because right now what they have to do is like the trucks will pull up basically right here, and they have to basically pump back into here, and they can only do two pumps at a time, or two trucks at a time. Currently, that's the most we've seen. So yeah, bit curious why they have so many ports for this. I'm wondering if they'll move it to the other side of the wall eventually and put it along this wall so that the trucks can come in this way.
But that size of the pipe that manifold is converging on, it's the limiting factor.
Oh, like you would never be able to offload that many pumps, that many trucks at the same time because of size of the pipe.
Yeah.
What the?
So,
What
no,
is
that's part.
going on?
I have, and at some point they are going to connect to municipal water.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's the other mystery.
Bankhead.
We don't know where that went. It's like in the ground somewhere, right? But
I
we don't know.
think scroll down. I thought BJ and I and Lawrence might have found it the other day. It's in that water. It's, I think, somewhere where next to Highway 4, where it's those white barriers. Thought is where
More to the right.
Yeah, where the fence, the temporary fence. No, it's down towards further towards the old D1.
Over here.
No, D2. See where the temporary fence sort of curves in on
Right here.
itself a little bit further down. I think it's coming up somewhere in that area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but haven't seen any signs of them putting any pipes into the ground.
Right.
And goodness knows that entire area is completely congested with conduits.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how you traverse that underground at this point.
Definitely quite a lot going on down there for sure. And as far as conduit goes, we are making some good progress on the bunker down here. The mega. Every time I think I got the right view, actually, probably. So we see they started putting precast walls up on this. This is a bit curious. Why don't these go all the way to the end?
They removed
because
those.
they needed they did have them go all the way to the end. I forgot.
Yeah, they removed them for
Putting these
I think.
walls in.
Yeah, they'll be back.
Cool. Yeah. So they'll have a little canopy. But yeah, they're putting these walls up around the entire perimeter. They're making some really good progress on that too. And this building is probably the most important thing that they need to get done. As far as we know, all of the controls for Pad B are going to be in this building. So this is going to be, this and the ship QD are probably the most important things to finish right now. I mean, you can really only put so many people in one location. So I think this will be the limiting factor as far as when we'll start to see real Pad B testing. Yeah, because you got to move tons, and I think everything that is connected in this building will have to get moved over here. So there will be a lot of groundwork. I'm surprised they haven't even started demolishing this yet. I'm guessing the testing that they have been doing is being ran through here. So that's probably why they haven't gotten rid of it yet, because they still want to be able to do individual tests of random equipment as they've been going. But I do imagine soon they'll probably start getting rid of this.
Yeah, I was surprised they haven't started putting in some trenching. Unless in that multitude of conduit that was put down, it's already has.
I don't think so.
I didn't either, but it's just strange. Yeah, in the lower left by that telehandler is one of the beams that they took down from.
Okay, from up here.
Yeah. Squirrel.
Let's see, what else are we missing? I feel like that's pretty much it. I'm sure we have some questions about launch site, and then if I think of anything else that I missed, I'll touch on that after we answer those questions.
We do. All right, so Cows King asks, do you think that booster static fires will be longer on Pad 2 now?
No, I think I don't. I think they're. I mean, they could be because they have enough water, obviously, to do, uh, a 60-second test like they just did. So yeah, I mean, it's possible that they'll make them a little bit longer. Um, I don't know if they necessarily have a reason to, unless NASA required it for human rating, which it's not going to happen anytime soon because HLS doesn't need to be human rated. So yeah, I mean, they've gotten away with doing, well, I think the longest they've done is 14, 15 seconds or something like that. So I don't know. Maybe they'll go 30 seconds, but um, I feel like no matter what, you still get somewhere on the flame bucket. So limiting it is a good idea. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's possible that that system is so powerful that it's literally not getting worn down at all when they fire those engines onto it. But yeah, I imagine there would probably be at least micromillimeters of wear each time. I don't know. I think it's possible. What do you think, Alex?
It's possible, but it's of limited utility. It's once the engines hit steady state and the flows are, and when they just hit their various throttle points, more than that, you're not subjecting it to any of the dynamic loadings that you're getting in flight. So you can't replicate the couple of G's of acceleration that, or the 12 or whatever it is on boost back and landing on a static stand. So yeah, I don't see much use in it, but that's just my opinion.
And Kai Nessel was asking, are they actually able to return the water back to the tanks after deluge? They were under the impression that it was wastewater and had to be trucked away.
It's
Nope.
technically, until the engines are hitting it, it's technically probably not processed water. There's nothing in pumping it through the system that's any different than, say, running a sprinkler or hosing down a driveway.
Yeah, and one of the things that they have done, which side is it? So they're returning most of it back to the tank, but they do have this Movac trailer down here, and I think that that they've been letting it drain to a certain point, and then in all the dirty parts that are down here, I think they've been sucking that out. Because well, unless this is perfectly sloped down to those sumps, where's the one I'm trying to find? Yeah, unless this is perfectly sloped, so everything ends up down there, which it might, because there's a little step down right here. So it may actually go down this step and through the side right there. I'm not sure. It may actually be able to literally collect all of it. I mean, that's what it looks like right now. It's completely dry down there. That's impressive.
Yeah. But I would hope they're doing some settlement treatment, just because all that dust and dirt will be very abrasive after a while.
Yeah, I mean, we know they have the sump pumps in there, but I mean, I don't think you could fit the pump and filter in there, right?
No, you probably want the filter up top because, you'd back flush it.
You mean by the tank, by the storage tanks?
Yeah. And they have that huge amount of space between the blast wall and the tanks.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't see whether or not they have something like that down there.
It looked like the amount of dirt on the other side where the Movac vacuum was, it sort of looked like they might have waited and let some of the silt settle inside the tank or the trench.
That makes sense. Before, yeah. So then you don't have the flow going into the pump is not high enough to drag that silt into there.
Yeah. Yeah, that looks pretty nutty.
That makes sense. Cool. Any other questions?
We do. We have a question about Pad A. Schizoquark is wondering, do you think they'll try a ship catch with Tower 1 before they invest in upgrading and taking it all apart?
Probably not.
I mean, they'd have to update the arms since the current. I don't think they can catch a ship with the current setup. Where's Ryan when we need him?
Yeah, I don't think the push pins. I'm not sure. So like these, I think the V3 ship may be lifted by its catch points, which are, I'm not sure actually.
Yeah,
There's really no way to know, truthfully.
Stabilizers. I mean,
Hold
there
on,
are
let's-
those interesting chopstick related stuff in Sanchez. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities that they'll modify Pad A's chopsticks sooner rather than later.
Well,
I mean, the landing rail looks mostly the same.
I think it's just pushers that might be different, but
Yeah. So I mean, it's possible. I don't know. I have a feeling that the ship is going to require the chopsticks to move faster than they do currently. I could be wrong. I have a feeling that they'll have to remain wider than they do for the booster. That's just my initial thought. So they're going to want them to move faster, and they'll probably not want to do it with the big chopsticks and use the small ones. But it's possible. I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess I wouldn't say it's impossible that they'll use Tower A for that, but I imagine once they start demolishing all of this, they're not going to want to interrupt that necessarily.
yeah, we'll know very soon if they start after the next flight. They start chopping off the ends like they did in Florida.
Right.
it'll definitely be interesting to follow. So, All Four asks, could SpaceX install fluted end pipes between the end of the pipes and the blast plates for the Deluge system at the bottom of the trench?
Ideas, Alex? I'm guessing you're talking about bridging the gap through here.
I'm not exactly sure what they mean by that.
Neither am I. Do you have an idea, Alex?
I'm assuming it's that, and to that I was going to say most of the holes are in the more vertical section and into the bucket, and then it progressively gets less. Since once you get the flow sort of horizontal, it's not really. It should be fairly de-energized, at least on the bottom of it. And at that point, you're going to start using convection to start lifting a lot of the flow up and expanding it out of the trench, which will then cool it some more.
Sounds good to me. So Kai Nessel asks, how many gas generators are used per Deluge tank?
Under one.
It was 1-to-1 until they added a new tank on each side. It's close to 1-to-1. So they have 4 generators for these tanks, and then 2 for these 3, and then 3 for these 3. So that tells me that the ridge cap or the deck system is probably the highest pressure out of
Yeah.
all. There's more gas per tank for the deck system than there is for the ridge cap and for the actual bucket. But they can always add in additional gas generators, but I highly doubt that's going to be necessary.
Not after that test.
No, at first I was like, yeah, maybe they're going to add more in, and after seeing that test, I'm like, probably not.
Yeah, I think we're pretty good there for sure.
Yeah.
So now Severin asks, do you think Massey's will be ready by the time ship 39 needs to be static fired, or do you think they'll try to put an adapter plate on pad B, or maybe just keep pad A until Massey's is ready?
I think it's safe to bet that Massey's will be ready first, considering we haven't even seen them start to stack ship 39.
Or any test hardware.
Yeah, like they'll need to cryo test it first, and they're just a long ways off from that. I imagine it'll be another like 2 weeks after they cryo test it before it's ready for static firing. So yeah, I don't think there's much of a chance that Massey's won't be ready in time.
Especially with that Pathfinder. Unless it was sitting there for a while, they're ways out.
Yeah, they have a lot more to do on the ship side than they do on the booster side.
Yeah, for sure. And then a couple from earlier, Chaos King was wondering, do we expect any kind of shielding on the ship quick disconnect arm?
No idea. Possibly, but maybe there's not necessarily a reason to make it any heavier than it needs to be, because you want it to move quickly. So maybe not. I don't know if they had shielding on it I can't remember if they had shielding on it in the renders or not. Yeah, I mean, if it moves out of the way quickly enough, like it has on pad A, it's been a while. I think it's flight 2. I think it received a little bit of damage. I think maybe that was flight 1. So yeah, I don't think there's a reason to, other than the fact that it'll look cool. I think it's actually worked in their favor that they haven't had cladding on it, because it's easier to replace things if they need to. But yeah, I would think it's more likely to see them add shielding on the chopsticks than the QD arm.
Yeah, I'd expect the same. And then our last one at the moment is from Corporal, and asks, since the first OLM needed extensive repairs and upgrades after its first flight, how big is the chance that they might need to keep on rebuilding and upgrading the new pads after its flight? And I would imagine this one's going to hold up way better than the last one during each flight, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everything about it is better. I could probably make a whole episode to answer that question truthfully.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, in car terms, we're kind of going from a Honda to a Bentley.
Pretty much.
Yeah, if this doesn't hold up, it's interesting, and not good interesting.
Cool. Any other questions?
That's everything.
Awesome. Well, in that case, glad we made it through everything today. I feel like oh wait. Okay, no, I was gonna say I think we did it a lot shorter show than normal, but nope, still 3 hours. So I'm always trying to get it to 2 hours, and I've been failing for, I feel like, the last year now, unfortunately. But
Don't blame me.
Yeah, I do want to thank everybody for joining us, especially on a Sunday. I know that, especially during football season, the likelihood of people watching this show, well, I mean, Saturday is about the same because, college football is equally as popular, I would say. But yeah, thank everybody for joining us on a Sunday. I do think there's a chance that a majority of our shows will end up being on Sundays from here on. And that's just due to the fact that flyovers are more likely to happen on Saturdays at this point. But as long as we do them on Fridays, we will probably keep doing the shows on Saturday whenever that's possible. So, sorry for the back and forth. I know a lot of times it's easier for everybody if they're always on the same day because they're just expected to be at that same day every time. But really, these are only possible if there's a flyover. And so that really determines what we're able to do as far as scheduling goes. So thank you all for your patience with that. Appreciate everybody who donated today, and definitely appreciate all of your questions as well. And with that, also a big shout out to Mauricio, as always, for getting these amazing shots. Thank you to the mods in the chat. I don't think they've had too much to do today. Y'all have been fairly well behaved, which is nice. And also thanks to Alex for helping me out today, as always. And with that, I'll pass it off to you.
Thank you for being here. Pleasure as always. And yeah, it didn't feel like 3 hours. And part of me, I have that itch that we missed something, but oh well. There's next week. Yeah. And yep, thank you to everybody. I'm not going to try and list because I miss people. So, until next time, it's on to you, Matt.
Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us today, and I don't think anybody's really complaining about hearing a little bit extra talk about Starbase, so we will take those 3-hour streams, no problem. Thank you everyone for all of your support. Most engines cut off, hot staging confirmed. Love you, bye.